What is going on YouTube? K293 here with a remastered version of my Charge Reverse tutorial. And I realize the Charge Reverse was one of the very much later tutorials that I released for the fundamentals, and I released it probably when I actually had this camera set up. But I figured that the fundamentals are very important, so even if I did do it in HD, I'm just going to do it again so that it's kind of all together with my uploads and in the kind of same time that I've released these remastered tutorials. So I just did a remaster of the Charge tutorial, and of course that is a prerequisite for the Charge Reverse, which is just the pen spinning in the opposite direction. So go ahead and check out the Charge Reverse remaster tutorial if you haven't already, and come back here when you feel like you've mastered that trick consistently. And what I mean by consistently, I mean be able to do it every time or most of the time when you try it, and also doing the continuous version a lot of the times when you try it. There is no, I guess, set number of revolutions that you have to do continuously to consider yourself proficient, but this is kind of up to you. Of course, the more revolutions you can do continuously, the better, but it's not like, oh, if you can do 10 charge continuouses in a row, then you're good, It's not like that. So whenever you feel comfortable with the charge continuous, come back here and we'll talk with the Charge Reverse and its continuous version as well. So as you could probably imagine, the Charge Reverse, starts in a very similar way to the Charge, but the revolution is in the opposite direction. So if you're right-handed, I mentioned in my previous video, the Charge is in a clockwise motion like this. And the Charge Reverse, if you're right-handed, is going to be in a counterclockwise or anti-clockwise motion, however you decide you want to say that word or define that direction. So I guess, I already showed how it looks, but just for officialness, this is how the trick looks. And that was, again, about 5 revolutions. So you'll notice that when I showed you in the beginning the Charge, I showed it in my 2-3 finger slot. That's the middle and the ring finger. But when I did the reverse, I did it in the 1-2 finger slot. This does not really make a difference. I just find that it is easier to do and easier to show and easier to learn in the 1-2 finger slot. Again, that's the index and the middle finger here. But of course, proof of concept, you can do it on lower fingers too. Again, I just think it's easier to do with the 1-2 finger slot. So just like the regular Charge, you want to hold the pen in the middle of its center of balance and the center of the pen. Or if anything, with slightly more weight right in front, or by front, sorry, I mean closer to you. And then the start is very much different from the Charge Reverse, the regular Charge, because you're not holding the pen with your thumb anywhere and then letting it go and using momentum to have it swing in the other direction. Instead, when I mentioned at the end of the Charge tutorial with the Charge continuous, is that you kind of start with your pen parallel to your fingers, and then you do the that swing motion. You kind of want to start in the same position, but do the swing motion in the opposite direction. And the way you do that is sort of the same concept, just in a different direction. But you kind of can start with your fingers slightly curled in, and then when you extend them out, and do another thing, it will go out like that. So this is the swing, I guess, for the Charge Reverse. It's more so, you kind of start down here, I guess, and then do that. It's a little bit more awkward. But that's what I consider the swing. This one is more so like half a revolution, rather than the Charge, like the regular Charge is 3/4 of a revolution for the swing bit. If that didn't make sense, don't worry about it. What you basically have to know is that there are 2 things happening when you're doing this swing. There is your fingers are extending, and also your index finger is kind of being pushed back a little bit. So relative to your middle finger, it's moving back. Moving back like that. And when you do that, you have your hand kind of curled in a little bit at the beginning, and then you not really flick, but I guess that is sort of like a motion that you could describe it as or similar to. You kind of have the pen start a little bit lower, and then you want to, I think you start pushing with your index finger first, actually. Push and then extend, like uncurl your fingers. So you're pushing back and then doing that. But that, of course, was very exaggerated. So you want to push your index finger back. That will inherently make the pen go up. And then when you add in the component of doing this, and you combine those two together, the pen will spin or start to spin in a counterclockwise motion. And when you get better at this, you won't need to do that motion with your hand, as in extending your fingers every time. But for the purposes of doing a single charge reverse, that is helpful. Kind of curl your hands in, have the pen a little bit lower. Don't have it up here. That's not that good. Have it down here, or kind of close-ish to parallel with your fingers, and then push your index finger back, and then extend your fingers out in one kind of fluid motion. Now, I'm struggling here a bit because this table is very low to where my hand is, and that's where I have my camera pointed, so kind of dumb on my part. But when you do it properly, the pen should do that in a very circular motion. So doing half a charge reverse rather, just practicing this swing motion is very beneficial, because if you can, as I mentioned in the regular charge tutorial, if you can master this swing and make it look very circular when you're practicing, you're going to have very, very circular and very pleasant looking charge reverses. They're going to be very circular, very smooth, and just very overall, they look much nicer. You're not going to get this wobble effect that everyone seems to get. Again, that's only if you decide to make the swing and practice a swing to make it look nice. And then to get the pen to do the other, I guess, half of the revolution back, you just kind of got to bring your hand in again. Bring those fingers in. And then when you do that, naturally, the pen is going to come in. And then, do that again. And then, kind of curl it in, and then push your index finger back, extend your fingers, and then, come in again by curling in your fingers or by bringing in your middle finger. So when you do that, you'll have a full charge. It's pretty simple. It's very much similar to the normal charge, but of course you're just using a different finger instead of pushing the bottom finger, which when you're holding in the 2-3 finger slot like I showed in the tutorial, the bottom finger is the ring finger here for obvious reasons, and then instead you're pushing with the top finger, which would be the index finger in this case. That's the finger doing the primary motion for the charge reverse. And as I mentioned in the previous video, the pen should be pretty much or your fingers should be clamping the pen with a gentle yet firm sort of grasp, because if you don't and you do this, the pen could just fly out behind your hand, and that's not good, obviously. But grasp it with the gentlest yet most effective grip that you can. By effective, I mean one that won't the pen fly out of your hand. So do that, and then bring it in. And then bring it in, and just do that again. It's okay to do it in stages. It's okay to just do the swing and then bring it in, and then kind of mentally prepare yourself to do another one, and then bring it in, and then keep doing that and doing that and doing that. And once you do that, you'll realize that you don't really need to contract your hands anymore. You don't need to bring your hand in and pull it out. That just makes it easier to do one revolution. But if you want to, you most definitely can. And I've seen people who have done it where they just keep kind of moving their fingers in and out a little bit. But once you get much more proficient at it, you get a feel for what it's like. Just like in the charge continuous, you're really only moving your ring finger here. When you do the reverse, really just your index finger, at least in this case, is doing most of the work. And again, that just takes a lot of practice and a lot of time dedication. So that should do it for my charge reverse tutorial. I hope this helped you guys. If you haven't already, please feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe for more in the future, and I'll see you guys in the next video.